I find it interesting that you started with just her being in part of a sort of like weft and weave of various authors. And in what ways did I wanted to know in what ways she stood out for you. My first question. Who is she to
It,
you as an
the
author? Or who was she to you at the time?
there is there's so many trends, there's so many through lines, breadcrumbs, whatever you want, whatever metaphor you want. There's so many paths through our genre for people to take now and for people always to have taken. And for us to take as we look back, as we're reading stuff and talking about it. But one thing, one great artificial division that used to hear about all the time, not so much now, although I think we still practice it in our reading choices and our buying choices as readers, between the work that foregrounded the prose, foregrounded the language, foregrounded the sound, and the work that foregrounded the plot, the skiffy element, the excitement, the page turning. That this was never exactly a binary switch is evident to anybody that's ever read anything. You know, Stephen King does both those things terrifically, as Nancy Kress does, as Peter Stroud did, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't read even a paragraph of Tanith Lee without thinking, okay, this is a voice. This is somebody that is crafting the sentences, and the sentences work. The sentences work orally. Read the stories aloud. You can do this. They lend themselves to that. And I know nothing about her story. I know nothing about her methodology, but I would be very surprised if she were not if she had not read some of these things as she was composing them out loud. And who knows, given the close collaboration with her partner that you were talking about earlier, who knows, may have read them to him.
I wouldn't be
In part,
surprised. It's a question.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't know. But and that also, by the way, raises one of the things that fascinates me, the uncredited collaborators, because I think we all have them. Gene Wolfe used to say that he was surprised that literary critics did not spend more time writing about writers in the context of the people they hung out with. Because he said, even if those don't seem very obvious on the face of it, they are absolutely in conversation with each other. That makes sense when it's Tolkien and Lewis, but it for it might make less sense for me and Ted Chiang,
Hmm.
But anyway, the but the and and she was so influenced by the 19th century writers and the early 20th century writers that she was both paying tribute to and also sort of sending up. Not parody, um, but sort of rethinking, re-envisioning,
She was having a
rewriting in
conversation with.
conversation with. She was in conversation. I was just looking Jim Gunn, my late friend Jim Gunn, when he in his Road to Science Fiction series. These are great anthologies. His volume 5 was The British Way, 24 stories, two of them by Brian Aldiss, who got a twofer. But it starts back with the an excerpt from the Battle of Dorking. There's one you have to be a literary critic to know about.
Yeah.
But of these 24 stories in here, a whopping two are by women. Josephine Saxton being one and Tanith being the other. But he points out that this Tanith Lee story is in conversation with a Frederick Brown story, a famous Frederick Brown story. It takes the 2-sentence Frederick Brown story titled Knock about the last man on earth and retells it about the last woman on earth. Behind Lee's door is a fairy tale. And he's absolutely right. And Jim, who had read everything, this resonated with him. And because I am John Kessel's boy, I am a relentlessly intertextual reader and writer. I love the conversation. And so as a writer, I appreciated these things about Tanith that I had just sort of missed as a kid. The language of it, the foregrounding of the language, and also the conversation with the stuff that has gone before. And she knew that the readers of these magazines and these anthologies were somewhat aware of these traditions, these tropes, these texts that she was in conversation with, even if it was just through conversation. You know, they were not all literary critics, but they were all fans and at least aspiring writers. And so she could wade in and have things to say, have contributions to make.